His parents-in-law leaned forward and whispered something to each other. Just a few words, and their smug, triumphant smiles, the ones I'd seen across fancy dinners for 16 years, froze on their faces. Their hands tightened on the railing in front of them. The papers they'd been so desperate for me to sign suddenly looked heavier. And me. For the first time in months, I smiled. But I'm jumping ahead. You need to know how we got here. How the woman everyone thought had lost everything actually played the quietest, most patient game of her life. My name is Gina Carter. I'm 36 years old, and until 3 months ago, I was married to Shane Carter. 16 years of marriage. 3 months ago, on a humid Miami evening, my in-laws stormed into our South Beach penthouse and screamed at the top of their lungs, "Divorce our son, right now. Leave the penthouse. Leave the company. Leave everything except the boy." My lawyer later pulled me aside and whispered, "All you have to do is speak up and we win this." I looked her straight in the eye and said, "Let them have it." Everyone thought I'd gone crazy. My friends, my family, even some strangers online when the news leaked. They all saw a broken woman handing over a luxury life on a silver platter. They had no idea what they were really taking. Before we go on, if you're enjoying this story, already hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. I read every comment, and trust me, the best part is still coming. Now, to understand why I was smiling in that courtroom, we have to go back 18 years. I met Shane during my sophomore year at the University of Miami. I was 20 then, balancing tough finance courses with shifts as a server in a busy campus cafe just to cover tuition and rent for my small off-campus apartment. My parents had died in a car accident when I was 16, leaving behind a modest inheritance and life insurance payout that I guarded like gold, putting it all into safe accounts for my future stability. From that young age, I became hyper-practical. I tracked every expense in detailed notebooks, planned budgets months ahead, and always prioritized long-term security over immediate fun. Shane was the opposite in so many ways. 21, laid back with that natural confidence that comes from knowing money issues were never a problem. His parents took care of it all, from their home in Tampa, full tuition payments, a nice condo near school designer clothes, and spending cash whenever needed. He rolled up to campus in a shiny new BMW, talked openly about big ideas for the future, and carried himself like opportunities would always fall into place. Our paths crossed properly one stormy afternoon in the cafe. He ordered a double espresso. I rushed the tray in the rain-slicked floor, and a bit of coffee splashed near his expensive sneakers. I apologized over and over, expecting annoyance, but he just smiled wide left, a $20 tip on a $5 drink, and scribbled his phone number on the receipt with, "Call me Shane." From there, things escalated quickly. Casual coffee meetups turned into long conversations about life goals. He opened up about wanting to start a luxury car rental business tailored to Miami's wealthy scene, high rollers renting Lamborghinis for weekend drives along the beach, business tycoons needing Rolls-Royces for important meetings, influencers and celebrities borrowing Ferraris or Porsches for photo shoots and events. I jumped in with ideas from my classes, breaking down potential startup costs, estimating monthly revenue based on seasonal tourism, calculating break-even timelines. It felt exciting, like we were partners planning something real. Love developed fast and intense. We were inseparable within months. We married when I turned 20, a quiet beachside ceremony with a handful of friends, some classmates, and his family flying in. His parents attended dressed impeccably, but their smiles seemed forced as they looked me over like I was an unexpected addition to their carefully curated world. Exactly 1 year later, when I was 21, Parker was born, our beautiful boy, with Shane's dark hair and my focused eyes. Those first years were exhausting, endless feedings, colic nights, and me pushing through final exams remotely while balancing a baby on my hip. After graduating, I accepted a solid entry-level analyst position at a reputable bank in downtown Miami. The pay was decent, benefits excellent, and the trajectory clear toward senior roles. I excelled there early on, dissecting financial reports, identifying market risks, advising on investment strategies for clients. Numbers came naturally to me, and I enjoyed the challenge. Meanwhile, Shane's rental idea was picking up steam. His parents stepped in with serious funding for the initial fleet, a striking red Lamborghini Huracan as the flagship, a sleek silver Ferrari 488, and a luxurious black Bentley Continental to attract corporate clients. "Quit the bank and come work with me full-time," Shane pleaded. "We'll build this together, it's our family legacy." I handed in my resignation. It seemed the right move then. Support his passion, contribute my skills, be more available for Parker as he grew. Carter Luxury Rentals officially launched from a modest warehouse space close to Miami International Airport. I drew no salary. Everything went back into growth. It was our venture after all. Right away, I immersed myself. I self-taught advanced features in accounting software like QuickBooks, setting up clean ledgers to track fuel costs, maintenance insurance premiums, and rental income down to the penny. Early on, I designed and launched a custom online booking portal using accessible development tools. Clients could view high-res photos of the cars, check real-time availability, choose add-ons like chauffeurs or GPS, and secure reservations with credit card holds. It cut down on manual errors and phone tag dramatically. Dealing with customers tested my patience daily. They were demanding by nature, a Wall Street executive, insisting on a specific color swap at the last second, a social media influencer requiring a McLaren for a yacht party shoot with exact timing, or a visiting celebrity's assistant complaining about interior scents. I negotiated calmly, offering upgrades to smooth ruffled feathers, enforcing deposit policies firmly but politely, following up personally to ensure loyalty and referrals. Funding kept coming from his parents in waves. Each infusion added to the inventory: a blue Maserati the following year, then a white Aston Martin for variety. In exchange, they held sway over big calls, relaying preferences through Shane, urging aggressive expansion, premium vendor ties, higher marketing spends. I'd prepare detailed reports highlighting cash flow concerns or overstock risks. Shane would discuss with them, then return saying it was approved regardless. The team expanded accordingly: professional detailers to maintain showroom shine, licensed drivers for pickups and drop-offs at hotels, or private jets, certified mechanics for regular servicing. I oversaw recruitment, interviewing, background checks, training protocols, plus scheduling shifts and processing vendor payments. Parker grew up immersed in it all. As a toddler, he'd nap in the office playpen while I reconciled accounts. By elementary school, he'd tag along on slow days, learning basic organization by sorting toy cars to match our inventory logs. Home routines revolved around the business: quick dinners after late client returns, weekend inventory checks instead of park outings. Externally, the image was flawless glamour. We relocated to the high-rise penthouse on South Beach, 38th floor, with wraparound balconies and unobstructed ocean panoramas. Shane networked at exclusive events, clinking glasses with property developers and club owners. Features appeared in local lifestyle publications, Carter Luxury Rentals elevating Miami's exotic car scene. Gradually, though, the dynamics shifted subtly. During visits from his parents, praise flowed toward Shane's bold vision and networking skills, while my role got reduced to the reliable one handling operations. Key strategy sessions initially excluded me. I'd catch fragments later and suggest adjustments that were acknowledged but seldom fully adopted. Ownership structures in the LLC favored family protections, rendering my endless hours legally invisible. I pressed on regardless. Revamped online advertising with geo-targeted campaigns for tourists and events like Art Basel, driving a noticeable spike in reservations. managed major incidents smoothly. A client's minor accident with a Porsche required swift insurance coordination and temporary replacement sourcing to avoid revenue loss. Instilled values in Parker through small lessons saving part of birthday money, understanding effort behind nice things. The years blended into a constant cycle of expansion and management. Parker entered his teen phase sharp with technology, sometimes assisting by testing updates to the booking system I refined annually. Family trips remained brief, priorities stayed on scaling the company. His parents' grip tightened additional loans for more exotic additions, discussions about satellite locations in Fort Lauderdale. I had foregone my own career ladder, professional connections, and separate financial growth, all invested in what I believed was collective success and Parker's future foundation. From the outside, Carter Luxury Rentals embodied Miami opulence and achievement. Inside the family, however, I increasingly felt like the unpaid engine keeping everything running, valued more for utility than partnership. 3 years ago, late one night, I was reconciling the quarterly reports for the bank loan renewal. Parker was asleep down the hall, Shane out at some networking event with potential investors. The penthouse was quiet except for the hum of my laptop and the distant ocean waves 38 floors below. I always handled these filings personally. The bank required detailed asset lists, depreciation schedules, revenue projections. I'd pull data from our system, cross-check against vendor invoices, insurance valuations, everything. It kept me sharp, reminded me why I'd sacrificed my own career. That night, a line item caught my eye, an outstanding balance on a line of credit I'd never seen before. I dug deeper, opening attached PDFs from the lender portal. There it was, $4.2 million in new financing secured against 18 additional vehicles purchased over the previous 18 months. 18. I counted them twice, 6 more Lamborghinis in various models, 4 limited edition Ferraris, 3 Bugattis that had arrived just last spring, plus a handful of McLarens and 1 ultra-rare Pagani. Raymond had pushed hard for those acquisitions. "Miami's booming," he'd say during family calls. "We need inventory to dominate the market. Competitors are eating our lunch on wait times." Shane relayed the pressure, excited about the prestige. I ran projections showing we couldn't service the debt comfortably with current bookings, especially off-season dips. They overrode me anyway, signing the papers together, Shane as managing member, Raymond co-guaranteeing personally. The numbers didn't lie. Monthly payments alone exceeded $40,000, not counting maintenance on those high-end machines. Fuel storage, specialized insurance, it added up fast. Revenue had grown, sure, but not enough to cover the aggressive expansion. We were bleeding cash quietly. Then I noticed transfers to a brokerage account I didn't recognize. Over the past 2 years, $1.8 million funneled out for what the statements labeled short-term market opportunities. Stock trades, mostly tech and volatile sectors. Raymond's influence again, he'd bragged about easy gains from tips in his golf circle, convincing Shane it was smarter than sitting on cash reserves. Every position showed heavy losses. Margin calls wiped out the rest. Total liabilities approached $6 million when I tallied everything. Bank loans, vendor holds upcoming lease renewals on the warehouse. Against that, the fleet's appraised value came in around $3.8 million. Depreciation hit hard on exotics driven by clients who weren't always gentle. My stomach dropped. The company looked thriving on the surface, bookings steady, social media full of glamorous drop-offs at 5-star hotels. But underneath it was a house of cards built on borrowed money and bad bets. I sat there until dawn, running scenarios. If things continued, foreclosure on vehicles was inevitable. Personal guarantees meant Shane and potentially me through marital assets could be on the hook. Florida law treated business debts in LLCs as separate but co-signed loans, blurred lines. Divorce would complicate it further. Claiming any share might drag me into liability. Confronting them crossed my mind. Demand explanations, force cutbacks, sell off excess inventory. But I knew the pattern. Raymond would dismiss concerns as lack of vision. Helen would accuse me of undermining Shane's success, and Shane, he'd side with them to avoid conflict. They'd spin it as my fault for not forecasting better. No, I needed protection first. Over the next weeks, I worked carefully, printed every incriminating document, loan agreements with signatures, highlighted brokerage statements showing losses, appraisal reports confirming values, scanned them all, encrypted the drive. Then I drove to Tampa one weekend under the guise of visiting family, handed the physical copies and backup drive to my sister Sky. She'd always been my rock, single, no ties to the Carters, with a secure job and a home safe in a quiet suburb. "Keep this locked away," I told her. "Don't open unless I say." She didn't ask questions, just hugged me tight. Back home, I reviewed my separate finances. The inheritance from my parents remained untouched in its original account, never commingled with business funds. My old retirement savings from the bank job rolled over properly. Together, over $500,000, legally mine alone. I consulted a discreet estate attorney online, then in person. Set up an irrevocable trust for Parker as sole beneficiary, education, future home emergencies. Transferred everything in. My name off as beneficiary, Shane's certainly not. Untouchable, even in worst-case scenarios. I documented more emails where I'd warned about overexpansion, ignored, text threads with Shane relaying my concerns, his responses deferring to his parents, saved screenshots forwarded to a private email, all while maintaining normalcy. Smiling at dinners when Raymond called, boasting about the empire, helping Parker with homework, processing client bookings like nothing changed. 3 years of silence followed. Watching the hole deepen, more small loans to cover shortfalls, declining values as mileage piled on. Pretending ignorance when Helen suggested redecorating the penthouse with business profits. I waited. Knew eventually the facade would crack, and when it did, I'd be ready, clean, protected, with Parker safe. Then one weekend evening, Shane came home looking defeated. He lingered in the foyer until Parker headed to his room for homework, headphones blocking the world. Shane motioned me to the living room couch, the one facing the floor-to-ceiling windows where city lights sparkled across the water far below. His usual easy posture was missing. He sat, hunched, fingers intertwined tightly. "We have to talk," he said quietly, barely meeting my eyes. "My parents are insisting we divorce. They want it done quickly, as soon as possible." The statement hung in the air, heavy but not shocking. Tension had built for over a year, fewer family dinners, Helen's side comments about Shane needing someone more aligned with his level, Raymond's complaints that I held back growth with cautious advice. I kept my voice steady. "Is this what you want too?" He sighed deeply, running a hand through his hair. "They believe it's necessary. For the company's image, for stability. They say Parker will be fine if we handle it right." Necessary, as though dissolving a family was routine maintenance. He outlined their plan. They'd cover legal fees, ensure a fair settlement, primary custody for me, generous support payments. The penthouse and business would remain assets for Shane's future, meaning theirs. I didn't push back. Said only that it hurt, that I needed space to absorb it. Internally, everything aligned with the quiet preparations I'd made years earlier. The following afternoon, the intercom announced visitors. Security sent up Mr. and Mrs. Carter. They entered without knocking, fully, Raymond leading in a light summer suit, Helen trailing with her pearl necklace gleaming against a tailored outfit. "No pleasantries?" Helen started immediately, tone slicing sharp. "We've tolerated this arrangement far too long, Gina. You contribute nothing of real value. You're a parasite who lucked into our son's life and our money." Raymond strode to the dining table, voice booming. "Enough games. You've lived off our investments, the penthouse, the lifestyle, all of it. Now you leave within weeks. Take Parker if you must, but the rest remains with us." I remained near the kitchen counter, fingers wrapped around a glass of water to hide any tremor, not from terror, but from suppressing the satisfaction rising inside. Helen pressed on, eyes narrowed. Don't imagine you'll claim half the company. It's structured to protect family interests. Shane will provide child support, but you get no piece of what we built. Raymond brought his fist down hard on the granite surface, rattling nearby glasses. The lawyers will send papers soon. Sign without drama. No court battles, no extensions. We're finished supporting this mismatch. Parker's bedroom door edged open slightly. He watched wide-eyed from the hallway shadows. Shane waved him back gently, mouthing later. The implication clear. Children stay out of these matters. They stormed out after delivering their ultimatum. Helen's final words lingering like smoke. Think of Parker, don't make this messy for him. Shane muttered apologies afterward, claiming he hadn't expected such aggression. I responded softly, agreeing to consider their terms appearing compliant. The opening act of the role I'd rehearsed in my mind for years. The ensuing days involved strategic withdrawal. I declined invitations from mutual friends, spent evenings alone in the study, with the door closed, emerging with puffy eyes from deliberate rubbing. Prepared Shane's preferred dishes, silently inquired mildly about timelines as though resigned. Precisely 7 days later, on a warm Friday evening, the private elevator opened again. Shane stepped in first, followed by a stranger carrying weekend bags. Jocelyn Hart, 26, with long blonde waves, tanned skin from endless beach days, and a toned body showcased in a fitted sundress. She smiled brightly, scanning the space appreciatively. Jocelyn's visiting for a few days, Shane explained offhand, glancing away. She has ideas for social media promotion. It was orchestrated naturally. Raymond and Helen's doing parade, the successor hastened my exit. Jocelyn moved confidently, complimenting the stunning layout and perfect natural light for content. That night, she took the master suite luggage, unpacked swiftly. Shane claimed the office pull-out sofa for early calls. Her stay extended naturally. Cosmetics appeared on bathroom counters, activewear draped over chairs, her playlists filling the speakers during mornings. She blended smoothies in my blender, leaving green residue I cleaned without comment. Midweek, Helen arrived with shopping bags, little touches for Jocelyn, scented diffusers, plush towels in new colors. She instructed me directly, finish emptying the walk-in closet soon. Jocelyn requires proper storage. I obliged, visibly folding garments into boxes, relocating to the compact guest room tucked at the corridor's end, the one overlooking the alley, cramped closet, single small window. Meanwhile, they entertained small gatherings on the balcony, laughter carrying as Jocelyn documented sunsets for her followers, tagging luxury brands. My former spaces transformed gradually. Art replaced cushions, swapped scents, altered. Parker observed silently, asking once why Dad's guest used Mom's dresser. Shane deflected, calling it short-term. I reassured him privately, promising clarity soon. The slights accumulated purposefully. Grocery lists rewritten to exclude my staples, favorite mugs shifted to back shelves, subtle rearrangements declaring territory claimed. I recorded discreetly forwarded messages from Helen coordinating Jocelyn's extended stay, time-stamped photos of displaced items, additional layers for potential use. Outwardly, I withdrew further meals, skipped, citing no appetite responses, muted when spoken to, nights resting early after staged tears in private. They grew bolder conversations, assuming my departure imminent. Jocelyn's belongings spread unchecked. As her integration deepened with even shared areas reflecting changes, the betrayal from someone I trusted most cut deepest. Nicole Perry had been my closest friend for 18 years, since college orientation, when we bonded over shared classes and late-night study sessions. She knew every detail of my life, the early struggles after my parents' death, the excitement of meeting Shane, the exhaustion of building the business while raising Parker. We'd celebrated milestones together, cried over losses, shared secrets no one else heard. After the divorce announcement spread through mutual circles, Nicole's calls intensified. Daily check-ins began full of sympathy. "How are you really holding up?" she'd ask, voice soft and caring. "Tell me everything, I'm right here for you always." At first, I confided, selectively testing boundaries. I mentioned feeling overwhelmed by paperwork, unsure about lawyers, considering quieter apartments in Coral Gables or Coconut Grove. She listened closely, offering comfort, recommending therapists, sending thoughtful care packages with wine chocolates and scented candles. Patterns appeared soon enough. Whenever I shared tentative plans, researching schools for Parker, viewing rental listings, exploring modest financial options, Shane or his parents referenced them within days. A casual remark about possibly hiring an aggressive attorney prompted Helen to text Shane about delaying tactics. My offhand worry about spousal support led Raymond to preemptively freeze joint credit cards for separation of finances. The realization crystallized during a lunch Nicole insisted on at a quiet oceanfront cafe. She probed more pointedly than usual exact settlement figures I hoped for, whether I'd demand any share of the fleet, my emotional state around Parker. Her eyes brightened at certain answers, questions feeling rehearsed. That same evening, Helen called Shane within earshot, mentioning reliable updates on my unreasonable expectations. The link was unmistakable. Nicole was feeding information, trading decades of friendship for promises of introductions to wealthy men in the Carters' circle. Helen dangled social upgrades, perhaps even matchmaking with business associates' sons. The betrayal stung sharper when Nicole invited me for coffee again, acting innocent. "You're so strong," she cooed, "but maybe it's time to let go, start fresh. I know people who could help you meet someone new." The hypocrisy burned. From then on, I fed her carefully selected half-truths, exaggerated despair, invented financial panic, false leads about aggressive legal moves. She reported diligently easing pressure from the Carters as they believed resistance had collapsed. Meanwhile, Parker drifted further. At 15, navigating high school demands, he spent increasing weekends at his grandparents' estate in Tampa Pool. Day's new gaming setups talks about family unity. Shane and his parents worked subtly. Comments like, "Mom's stressed, making things harder than necessary during pickups." Raymond praising Parker's mature understanding when he avoided conflict. Helen gifting expensive sneakers, saying, "We want you comfortable no matter what." Parker grew quieter around me. Conversations shrank to monosyllables. He'd enter the penthouse now, Jocelyn's domain too, heading straight to his room, eyes averted during dinners. Questions about school met shrugs. Hugs felt brief, obligatory. One night he asked directly, "Why are you fighting Dad so much? Grandma says you're dragging this out." The words echoed from Helen cut deepest. I reassured him it would pass, that I loved him always, but saw lingering doubt. The isolation deepened. Mutual friends distanced, influenced by the Carters' narrative of my bitterness. Invitations vanished. Whispers circulated at school events. Jocelyn's presence amplified everything, her youthful energy contrasting my manufactured fragility. I amplified the performance deliberately. Phone calls in common areas where voices carried feigning tears over losing everything. Skipping family meals, citing no appetite, appearing pale from skipped sleep. Wandering rooms listlessly when visitors arrived, retreating early with headaches. They bought it completely. Shane softened manipulations, assuming victory near. Helen bragged openly during drop-ins about smooth transitions. Raymond accelerated legal drafts, confident no contest loomed. Parker noticed the changes, concern flickering amid confusion. He brought water unprompted, once asked if I was okay. I leaned into fragility, knowing it protected him longer term. The act exhausted mentally, but served purpose. Lowered guards, encouraged overconfidence, positioned them exactly where needed. As legal documents began circulating for review, I decided it was time to bring in professional help. I had researched carefully in private, selecting Adriana Ruiz, a highly regarded family law attorney in Miami, known for navigating complex high-net-worth divorces with precision and discretion. Her practice was in a understated Brickell high-rise, far from the flashy downtown firms that the Carters typically used. I booked the initial consultation anonymously at first, then arrived in person carrying 3 heavy binders inside a nondescript tote bag. I dressed simply loose pants, plain top hair tied back, the image of someone worn down and ready to concede. Adriana welcomed me into her office, early 50s, sharp features, no wasted words. We took seats at the polished conference table. I placed the binders in front of her without ceremony. "Everything is here," I told her evenly. "Full records spanning 3 years, loan documents, vehicle appraisals, brokerage accounts, correspondence." She started reading, immediately turning pages with focused efficiency. The room stayed silent for a long while as she absorbed the contents: debt schedules, lien details, depreciation reports, loss summaries. Her reactions built gradually: a slight raise of eyebrows at the expansion loans, a tightening jaw at the investment shortfalls, a slow shake of the head at the personal guarantee clauses. Nearly an hour later, she finished the final section, closed the binder, and met my gaze directly. "You've been preparing for this how long exactly?" "Since the night I discovered the discrepancies 3 years ago." She leaned forward slightly. "This is exceptionally thorough. The liabilities are all attached to the assets they'd inherit. Your separate property documentation is flawless. No commingling, clear trails." I laid out the entire strategy then. Complete surrender of claims to the penthouse, the LLC, the entire fleet, anything appearing marital. Except a modest cash settlement and primary custody of Parker. Force them to assume sole responsibility for every bank loan, vehicle lien, and outstanding obligation. Adriana processed quickly, nodding as connections formed. "They'll see it as capitulation from someone emotionally drained, eager to escape. That's the goal. Their overconfidence fills the gaps." We outlined next steps meticulously: mandatory mediation phases, first final hearing if required. She cautioned that their counsel would table aggressive initial terms, anticipating pushback. I assured her there would be none from my side. The first mediation session took place in a sterile conference room at a neutral facility downtown. Michael Walsh, their attorney, seasoned, impeccably suited, long retained by Raymond, laid out the opening proposal: $60,000 cash to me, primary physical custody of Parker, with liberal visitation for Shane, standard child support calculations. In return, I relinquish all interests in real property, business entity vehicles, and associated accounts. I countered with only small clarifications: confirmation of extracurricular activity coverage verification. My inheritance remained protected. Accepted the core terms almost immediately. Michael paused, reviewing his brief. Across the table, Raymond exchanged satisfied glances with Helen. Shane shifted, relief evident. Subsequent sessions amplified their assurance. I arrived visibly fatigued, dark circles from intentional late nights, subdued voice, hesitant posture. Requested reductions in certain support line items, extended move-out grace period. Adriana performed convincingly, voicing concerns about fairness in sidebars, but deferring to my stated desire for swift resolution and peace. The Carters read vulnerability perfectly. Raymond muttered audibly, leaving one meeting, "She's crumbling faster than expected." News traveled fast in their social strata. Helen arranged intimate gatherings at exclusive venues, confiding to country club acquaintances how the opportunistic ex finally recognized limits, surrendering vast wealth without contest. Foolish enough to think 60,000 buys independence. Raymond shared similar sentiments on golf outings with partners, chuckling over "simplest deal in years." She never grasped true valuations. They remained convinced appearances reflected reality. Bookings appeared robust, luxury image, intact debts, refinanceable through connections or partial sales at premium. Jocelyn participated in the triumph, subtly updating online profiles with penthouse glimpses, captions hinting at bright futures ahead. Associates forwarded well wishes, presuming I'd buckled. Shane approached privately once, tone almost compassionate. This offer is more than fair, Gina. Accept and move forward. I agreed softly. Gaze lowered. Final mediation formalized everything. I initialed drafts with deliberately unsteady hand rehearsed repeatedly for realism. Court date for judicial approval set within weeks. Their hubris reached peak. Helen orchestrated a lavish rooftop soiree at the penthouse, inviting scores from Miami's upper echelon real estate magnates, yacht owners, gallery curators. Champagne circulated freely. Speeches lauded Shane's maturity, Raymond's strategic oversight. Attendees admired refreshed interiors, commented on framed fleet shots prominently displayed. No one probed finances. Glamour sufficed. I appeared briefly at Parker's request, lingering peripherally with sparkling water. Helen drew near, once false concern masking glee. We're relieved you're cooperating for Parker's benefit especially. I murmured assent. Privately, preparations finalized with Adriana disclosure addendums enumerating every obligation transferring exclusively upon asset acceptance. They reveled oblivious to impending collapse. As the final court date approached, I felt the calm of someone who'd waited years for this moment. The morning arrived clear and warm, typical Miami December. I drove downtown alone, Parker at school with instructions to wait for my call later. The courthouse in the city center felt familiar from prior hearings. Marble floors, security lines, the faint echo of footsteps. Courtroom 4B was quiet when I entered, air-conditioned, chill-polished wood benches, sunlight filtering through high blinds. I wore a simple black dress, hair pulled back neatly, no jewelry, no statement pieces. The picture of restraint. The Carters arrived together. Raymond in a tailored navy suit, Helen in designer neutrals with pearls, Shane beside Jocelyn, who waited outside per rules. They took seats on their side postures, relaxed, exchanging quiet smiles. Judge Barbara Singh entered promptly, silver hair-pinned glasses perched low. She'd presided over family cases for decades, fair, thorough, intolerant of games. She reviewed the file briefly. Carter versus Carter. Final dissolution. Parties have reached agreement. Michael Walsh stood first. Yes, Your Honor. My clients assume all marital assets, residence, business entity vehicles. Mrs. Carter receives cash settlement and primary custody. Adriana confirmed beside me. Correct, Your Honor. My client voluntarily relinquishes claims. Judge Singh addressed me directly. Mrs. Carter, you understand you're waiving substantial property interests. I met her eyes steadily. Yes, Your Honor. I want what's best for my son and a clean end. She studied me longer, searching for coercion signs. Finding none, she proceeded. Documents circulated, thick packets, signatures required throughout. I signed, deliberately, pen strokes firm. The Carters followed eagerly, Raymond quickest, Helen with flourish, Shane mechanical. Michael reviewed the full package last, as good attorneys do. Main agreement, asset schedule, custody terms. Then the liability addendum detailed listings of every loan line obligation tied irrevocably to transferred property. His face drained of color. He flipped pages, frantically confirming totals, leaned urgently toward Raymond and Helen. You're assuming nearly $6 million in personal and corporate debt alone, he whispered harshly. Loans guarantees it's all shifting solely to you upon acceptance. Raymond snatched the pages, scanning numbers. Helen grabbed next, eyes widening in horror. Shane froze, staring blankly. Raymond shot up. This can't be right. She hid the true state fraud. Judge Singh's gavel cracked sharp. Mr. Carter, sit. Explain calmly. He protested loudly. Figures fabricated, manipulation, lack of disclosure. Helen added tearful accusations of deceit. The judge examined the addendum herself. These are debts associated with assets your clients claim. In your names, your signatures. Are you saying you were unaware of your own obligations? Michael interjected quietly. Your Honor, I advised full financial audit prior to signing. They declined in writing. He produced the waiver signed by Raymond acknowledging refused review against counsel advice. Judge Singh reviewed it. So advised, yet proceeded voluntarily. Raymond stammered excuses, trusted appearances, no time for audit's pressure to finalize. She cut through firmly. You had representation, opportunity for diligence. Mrs. Carter disclosed fully per agreement. The terms stand. Chaos subsided slowly. Raymond slumped Helen-dabbed eyes with tissue, Shane pale and silent. Gavel fell again. Agreement approved. Marriage dissolved. Mrs. Carter receives settlement. Mr. Carter and associates take assets with all liabilities. I gathered my purse, stood smoothly. Glanced once at them, Raymond muttering threats to Michael, Helen sobbing quietly, Shane avoiding contact. Walked out without another word. The collapse unfolded faster than anticipated. Within weeks, bank notices arrived, missed payments triggering acceleration clauses. Lenders demanded full balances on vehicle loans. 2 months post-decree foreclosure proceedings initiated on the penthouse public auction scheduled. Potential buyers scarce. Market value fell below outstanding mortgages. Fleet repossessions followed tow trucks at warehouse, luxury cars hauled away under court order. Clients canceled, reputation shattered as news spread. Carter Luxury Rentals filed Chapter 11. Bankruptcy reorganization attempt failed when creditors forced liquidation. Remaining inventory sold at fractions proceeds, swallowed by priority claims. The Carters lost everything. Penthouse gone business dissolved, personal guarantees enforced. They downsized to a modest rental in Hialeah. Outskirts 3 bedrooms, no views, far from former circles. Social fallout, swift invitations ceased, whispers replaced praise. Helen's groups dissolved mentions. Raymond's partners distanced. Attempts at contact came, calls from Shane begging discussions, messages via mutuals seeking loans or aid. I blocked numbers, changed emails. No response, no meeting. Parker learned gradually through documents I shared appropriately, conversations age-suited. He processed anger, confusion, then clarity. One evening in our new Coral Gables apartment, cozy 2-bedroom sage-painted kitchen, unpacked boxes finally stored, he sat beside me on the couch. You planned all this, he said quietly. Waited years. To protect you, I replied. Your trust secure, future safe. He hugged me tightly, the full voluntary embrace absent for months. I get it now, Mom. You're the smartest person I know. We built forward from there. Smaller life, simpler choices, entirely ours. I enrolled in design courses, rediscovered passions paused long ago. The 60,000 funded basics, deposits, furnishings, stability. Trust remained untouched for Parker's college milestones ahead. Freedom tasted real, no oversight, no judgment, decisions mine alone. Greed and arrogance exact their own heavy toll. Financial independence and patient resolve prove true power.